I was trying to catch you singing, Matt. But you were muted. It's all good. It's all good. How are you?
All good, Brett Caldwell. How are you?
I'm good. Are you dressing up tonight?
Nope. Just following the kids around who are. What about you?
I dressed up last weekend, so we'll see. All right, we are live streaming and ready to go. So what's the feeling out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are really starting to actually grasp and feel what's going on in the market from the shift. The interest rate hikes are real, and I think people are finally seeing some inventory increase or at least stabilize. And the interest rate conversations that they're having with buyers are real, and a slowdown is here, and I think it's coming. But we've got great opportunity.
So let's check in on it on numbers. So 698 active inventory in Fulton County. Look, that's a dip from last week, right? Like that's the lowest outside of the beginning of September. We've seen it. So, which is interesting because if you look, we put pretty much the same number of houses under contract, pretty much the same number of pendings, pretty much the same number of closed, maybe 40 more closed than we did the week before. So where's the discrepancy in active inventory? I can tell you what I think it is. We're not listing new houses right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people sitting on the fence waiting to make a decision around, should I sell my house or not?
Yeah.
So Matt, coach me. What's the script? If somebody's telling me, hey, should I list my house right now? All I'm reading in the news is that the world's falling apart.
Yeah, Brett. Well, let me ask you this: if you were to move, why would you move right now?
Yeah, good question. So we need a bigger house.
Fantastic. How long do you plan to stay in your next home?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Well, we may need to run this chart and see if that's a smart financial decision for you.
Yeah, there you go. Obviously, if somebody's planning on staying in their house longer than the next 2-3 years, it'll be a smart financial decision. If it's short term, probably not a good financial decision, but most people don't buy or sell for those reasons, right?
They don't. That's right.
Absolutely. Let's jump through. So DeKalb County here, let me get over to it. 484 active inventory. The inventory held from last week. And the inventory has actually kind of stayed pretty constant there. 55 under contract, 151 pending, and 165 closed. Good numbers there. Those actually, DeKalb was the one county that was kind of hurting there for a little while. And all of a sudden, they're the stable county. So it just goes to show it moves around from time to time, right?
It does, and no major concerns yet, right? I mean, it looks pretty steady. Nothing shocking that we were expecting to see. So
exactly. So Cobb County 471 active, down from 508, down from 440 or 542, down from 553. So we're certainly on a downward slide here. But active active under contract 86, 154 pending, which is a little bit down.
Yeah.
But 86 held, and then 192 closings, which heck, that's a pretty healthy number, I think, for October. So what do we make of this? Like the media is saying the markets are down 20%, 30%. The world's falling apart. And I'll kick it to you, Matt, but what I would say is Metro Atlanta is going to be a softer recession than the majority of the country. I'm not going to say we're not going to have a recession, but I am going to say it's going to be softer than the majority of the country. What would you say?
I would 100% agree. I mean, people are migrating to the South for a number of reasons, and one of those being job growth and job availability. And it's still a supply and demand game. And it's still a seller's market, right, Brett? So, we may have less people qualified or willing to move, and still people are still coming into our state, and people are still commuting out of our state, where some places that is not the case, and it's not as desirable.
So Matt, coach me. When I was a new agent way back yesteryear, it was kind of a rule of thumb that most houses would sell for like 95% of list price. Like we kind of knew going in, if I had a buyer that if a house was listed for $500,000, I'd probably get it for around 475. And I would kind of be coaching my buyers to offer and negotiate accordingly. Well, all bets were off the last 2 years, right? Like it was going way over asking price. But what are we coaching our buyers right now? And how do I back that up with data?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, number one, the data point you can get from FMLS, there's an absorption report. You can still pull that as to what listings are selling for per value. And that, honestly, if you look at that, it's still around 99 to 100%. So that hasn't changed a ton. What I would say from the buyer side is, we are seeing with more inventory, less people in the market, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, the opportunity to negotiate out seller paid closing costs, the opportunity to negotiate a 2-to-1 buy down, and you go through all those options. The opportunity to negotiate repairs that you were not getting during those bids a year or two ago. And you were probably buying a house that was about 5 or 6 or 10 on your list, not your number one house. So if you do need to buy right now, or you are looking to buy, I honestly think, Brett, it's probably a better market if you can afford it than it was the last 2 years. And if you can get over the rate and understand that there's options, and the rate, if you look at all the economic forecasts, is not going to be 8-9%, 4, 5, 6, 3 years from now. There's opportunities and great products to go back and refi. So get out there and look if you can afford the payment.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump into something. Would you buy a haunted house? So here's the deal. It's Halloween, and I thought this article was very interesting. It said more than half of buyers would purchase a haunted home in a competitive market. I can tell you, I am not that half of buyers. I am scared to death of ghosts. I would not buy a haunted house, but would you?
That makes 2 of us. So we got to find the other 2 that would, because
yeah, of course,
no part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think, in a competitive market, houses that might have some kind of distress or what do they call it? Situational dis factor. What I don't know what I'm trying to say right now, but some factor that normally would hurt the property, whether it backed up to a busy street or was located near a cemetery, or in this case haunted, stigmatized. There you go, John.
Yep.
I think it creates opportunity for those properties to move, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last few years, it didn't really matter. If you had a chance, you had a chance. You'd go all in. I
still wouldn't buy a haunted house.
Still...
Moving on. It's Halloween. All right. Yeah. Zillow lays off 300 workers at portal pivots from iBuying to super app.
Yeah.
Couple comments on this. Obviously, Zillow laying off workers is a side comment around the economics of the real estate industry going backwards a little bit. One, two, it's a publicly traded company, and they're forced to try to have a profit to Wall Street. Where some companies are, some companies aren't. We are not a publicly traded company, which I find to be a really positive thing for us, especially in times of a shifting market. But more importantly, I think the iBuying world is going to dry up for a short period of time and then come back with a vengeance. And that's my prediction, because I believe that iBuyers are going to have a lack of excess of funds right now, and they're trying to navigate if they can turn profits, and then they're going to see the market, and just like every buyer in our pipeline is going to go, can I get a deal? And those deals are coming, right? And the perception of what a deal is to be left up for interpretation. But at the end of the day, I think they're doubling down on technology, backing off iBuyer, and we should take notice. What do you make of it?
100% agree. I agree with the iBuyer conversation down the road as well, which to me, if I'm talking to a buyer now, there's a lot of opportunity. You're not competing with iBuyers as much pre-listing, and those are coming to the market. Two, I mean, if you're looking at all the data points, and next year they're predicting Fannie Mae 22 to 26% decline, not necessarily in the Southeast, but a decline in units sold. These companies are just they have to answer to that, and they're preparing for that moving forward. So 5%. I think may only be the beginning, Brett. We will see.
Yeah. All right. Well, the important thing here is you have seconds to win prospects over. Here's what to say. So first comment is speed to lead is everything in a shifting market. It kind of was the premise of the Shift book when Gary wrote it back in 2008, 9, and 10. And why is speed to lead so important? Well, when people are looking and the market's moving fast, there's a lot of agents that are hungry right now, and they're going to jump on these people. And the first one to answer the phone, the first one to respond online, the first one to click back on social media usually wins. And that's really important. And then beyond that, what you say has everything to do with your success rate. So practice is a lifesaver. And I'm going to give this analogy. There's a lot about scripts and setting appointments, and there's 5 truths about scripting. However, Matt, I never found number 5. I just find 1 through 4, but that's beside the point. I give the analogy of if you've ever swung a tennis racket for the first time, or you've ever swung a golf club for the first time, or I'm right-handed, and if you ask me to write my name with my left hand, my non-dominant hand, it's going to feel very awkward. And really that's what scripts are, is we're asking you to take a swing at something that's not natural for you. And the more you swing at it, the more it will become natural. And the truth is success is in the scripts. We know that, and we all hate them because it doesn't sound like me, Matt.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
Well, I love it. We all use scripts, whether we do or we don't. And two, you're right. People can pick up on confidence very quickly. And you don't really come off confidently answering the phone at your first few scripts or first few dialogues, but over time you do. And you get really good and really good. And the point, I think, Brett, is to have a script to keep practicing over and over against real people is the opportunity to make adjustments on that. And you get better and better at it. You feel more confident, and you do convert over time.
So here's my question is, if I'm an agent today, what script should I have in my back pocket right now? I think you should be able to answer, hey, I don't want to buy a house right now. These interest rates are crazy. What would you say?
Yeah.
How would you handle that objection?
Yeah, 100%. I think another one would be, I'm going to wait for prices to fall right now. I'm going to wait for the market to crash right now. So it's the same thing.
Seller could say, hey, interest rates are going up. I'm going to wait to sell my house until the rates come back down.
Yep. Hey, Brett, why would I move with a 3% interest rate over to a 7.5% interest rate?
Yeah. You got to have scripts for all these things. And this is where the success trait shows up. And it's not going to be a conversation you can fumble your way through. You need to practice these conversations. Like Matt, if you said to me, hey, I don't want to list my house right now. I'm going to wait until next year. I'm going to wait until the economy comes back. I'm going to say, great, Matt. I completely understand why you think that way. Are you aware that the national economists are predicting prices to go backwards 5%, actually 5.5% over the next 12 months? By the way, at your $500,000 house, your $400,000 house, that's a difference of $20,000 to $25,000 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Would it make more sense to move today and keep that 25 grand, or would you rather wait and put it on the line? Right? I got that in my back pocket. And that's what this scripting is all about. But it's more importantly, how quickly do I get to them, and how more confident and professionally can I handle those conversations? Chasing leads isn't enough. The agent's message has to work too. We've got this quirky word called mofer. And one of the smartest things that I've heard people say is the fundamentals of how you do your business never change in any economy. What changes is your messaging.
Mhm.
So for instance, if I'm doing a TikTok video a year ago, my message might look different than my TikTok video today.
Yeah, I mean, your message last year, Brett, is probably something around, hey, don't just sell to the iBuyer on the first offer. Versus today, it's like, hey, let's really talk about what options you have to get a lower interest rate working with me.
Yeah. And that whole MOFR, which stands for make offer for immediate response, it changes, and it's really a marketing message. It's a call to action. We just came up with this really quirky acronym, but at the end of the day, your message is everything. And what message are you putting out there to attract business to you today? Running through some of these articles, going back to the basics. Here's what top agents are doing to finish the year strong. I'll just scroll real quick. It says, have more conversations, have better conversations. Back to scripting, right? What are you saying? Follow the plan. Do you even have a plan, right? Our agents' mindsets are critical right now. I think it'd be real easy to get down in the dumps reading the news media. You know, Matt, I love political season, not really. But you realize no matter what side of the fence you're on, all political ads are fear-based negative marketing ads, or most, let's say 90% of them are. So those fear-based negative advertisement, all it's doing is raising anxiety level of the general public around the economy, raising anxiety level around the future, because that's how they get people to vote.
Yep.
And which is probably great if your profession is politics. It's not so great if your profession is real estate, but it's creating an extra energy that doesn't need to be there, extra anxiety that doesn't need to be there for us. But who am I to say? I just think mindset is everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with that too, Brett. And you know, one of the greatest the great group here that shows up every day and sees real data, sees people are buying and selling and moving during this market. There is opportunity. The great question you can call around and ask is, you know, calling your database and just, you know, going through Ford and asking how they are and what's going on in their life, and just finish up that conversation. If it doesn't get to real estate, is, hey, there is a ton of negative news being put out there in the real estate space right now. I just want to know, do you have any questions around what's going on in real estate in Atlanta? And just leave it at that.
For those that don't know, what's Ford?
Oh, sorry. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. It's a great way if you get stuck during any conversations, really just a way to have conversations naturally. The Ford method.
Yep. All right. And then obviously stop listening to the noise. We talk about that every week. Okay. I'm gonna go to this article first. So this article on the Atlanta Business Chronicle talks about the 30 metro areas cooling the fastest. So Matt, I'm going to click through these, okay? Las Vegas, number 30, Milwaukee, Boston, St. Louis, Baltimore, Madison. Let me go a little faster. Detroit, Riverside, DC, Phoenix, Stockton, California, Colorado, California, Washington, California, Oregon, California, Utah, Pennsylvania, Utah, California, Austin, Texas, number 3, San Jose, California, number 2, and Boise, Idaho is the number 1 market that's going to shift. Now, what's not on there?
I didn't see anybody, and maybe I was wrong, the Southeast. Definitely not Atlanta or Georgia, but the Southeast.
Well, let's just go with Atlanta, but yes.
Atlanta. Yes.
I didn't see any Florida. I didn't see any Georgia, and I certainly didn't see Atlanta. So here's why I think this is good news. The economy is gonna go into a recession if it's not already. That's a debate. And 2, Atlanta is going to experience a softer recession than most of the U.S. And that just is, it's good news to us that live in Atlanta. And it's good news to us that choose Atlanta as our place of doing real estate, because it is just really stable in terms of a real estate industry. And I feel really confident when you say metro areas. I don't know how many metro areas there are, but not many more than 30. And we ain't on the list. So that's a good news. All that being said, here's the hottest housing markets in metro Atlanta where prices grew and fell in Q3. So DeKalb County, outside the perimeter Atlanta suburbs, were well represented among the hottest local housing markets during the third quarter. So Clarkston, Lithonia, Decatur, Stone Mountain, all that east outside the perimeter. 2 Conyers zip codes, that whole area over there was popping. You can see on this map, south or east and southeast, I'll forgive my cursor, of Atlanta and southwest of Atlanta were some of the hottest markets in metro Atlanta in Q3, but it didn't say we had any bad markets. If you go down here, these are the top 25 zip codes for house price growth at the map above. Here's the list. You can see all the counties here. And then at the end of the day, what do we make of all this, right? Like if you're looking at, we're not in the top 30 metropolitan areas cooling off. We've got lots of pockets around our city where it's actually still pretty hot. And overall, I feel blessed to be doing business where we are. That's my take. What's yours?
I agree. And I think that's great information to make sure your clients in this area or your people actually know, because that's not the national story. 2 is I would be a little beware, that you're still going to have to shift your activities in hyperdrive, because although we aren't falling, we're not increasing at the level we were. And there's a lot of agents. So if we fall, let's say it's not 22%, but 15, 10% in unit sales, that's still a dynamic big gap in the amount of units sold. And there's a lot of real estate agents. So you have the opportunity to go to work right now and take market share, because there will still be people getting out of the business, even in the Southeast. So I would just say it's twofold. 1, with our clients, you need to have educated conversations. 2, don't let it deter you from thinking that the market's not going to be harder over the next 6, 12, 18 months.
Not at all. I didn't even jump into commercial stats, and we've got our commercial meeting tomorrow morning where I'm doing a big stats presentation for all our commercial agents. Commercial real estate thrives in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And, it probably has a lot to do with people moving property and assets for tax reasons. But every market, every segment, everything has its own story. You just got to go find that story, right?
Right.
There you go. Matt, you're a great co-host. Are there any questions today? We kind of knocked it out fast today. Let's see. We had one. What's the me of the ABC article? Amy, I posted those articles in the chat for you. And Deborah said the usual suspects.
Yeah. Yeah. If you look at the increases of Boise and Austin, I mean, huge rush the last 2 years. It's kind of expected, right?
There you go.
Did anyone see any articles about Atlanta having the soft landing in the recession?
I'm making that as an opinion, Terry. I don't know that anybody's actually written that, because they're probably not bold enough to do so yet.
There is an article. I don't have it in front of me. That was a couple weeks ago for prediction of the lowest impacted counties across the United States in the housing market for a recession, and there were multiple counties around Atlanta. So I don't have that for me now. Also, Brett, I don't think those articles draw as much of attention as the negative articles do. So we probably have a harder time finding those.
Of course not. But do you remember where you saw that, Matt?
I'll send it to Brett Terry, because Brett, I think you actually sent it to me. So I'll send
Actually,
it.
just go post it on the Heart of Atlanta Facebook group.
Okay,
and we'll look
I will.
for it.
Yeah, I think it's like the top 50 most recession-proof counties in the United States in the housing market. So Terry, I'll post it in the Heart of Atlanta group.
Thank you. And shouldn't Brett Caldwell be doing an interview with the Atlanta Business Chronicle to give his opinion?
Terry, you should just make mention of that. Hey, I want to remind everybody, if you go to YouTube and you search for KW Heart of Atlanta, and you can find Heart of Atlanta group on here, we document everything. So if you click on playlist, under playlist, under industry update, here's every, I don't want to play it, but every industry update we've ever done is stored on here. So you can go back and reference these things. We keep up with everything on here, and from our Mojo Mondays to everything. So have at it's fun stuff. I think we just want to be a resource to help you guys, and appreciate you tuning in today, because I believe this is probably the most important conversation over the next 6 months on this call at 2:30 on Mondays.